In a crucial moment on Earth, all its inhabitants find themselves confined within a colossal 140-story bunker. However, the enigma of its construction and the reasons behind their forced seclusion remain unknown, as all records have been obliterated. It is the sheriff's wife, driven by an unwavering determination, who takes it upon herself to unravel the truth, setting in motion a chain of rebellious acts. Sheriff Beckett Holston, filled with a sense of purpose, removes his badge, tidies up his surroundings, and steps out onto the galleries of the shelter. Perplexity lingers among the people, as they remain oblivious to the purpose of their confinement, the identity of the bunker's architects, and the enigmatic state of the outside world. The hope of venturing beyond the bunker's walls is yet to materialize. Arriving at his office, Sheriff Holston writes a poignant letter, instructing his assistant to isolate himself. After savoring a cup of coffee, he himself passes through the door, firmly closing the gate behind him, and discarding the key to his astounded assistant. He declares his intent to reunite with his deceased wife, whose lifeless form rests beyond a dusty porthole. Revealing their collective desire to depart from the shelter would be equivalent to voluntary exile, a choice that embraces certain demise. As the bewildered assistant hastens to coordinate the sheriff's statement, memories of his beloved wife flood his mind. He reminisces about an ordinary morning, a tender moment shared over coffee, and the eagerly awaited permission they received to bring a new life into the world. A year lies ahead, dedicated to conceiving and giving birth to their rightful heir. Encircled by well-wishers, the couple is showered with heartfelt congratulations for this joyous occasion. In an unexpected turn, Gloria, an eccentric older woman renowned as a charlatan, approaches their table. She invites Ellison to her room, offering her assistance in conceiving and carrying a child. However, Holston swiftly dismisses her, questioning how a childless woman like Gloria could possibly offer any help. Determined to explore other avenues, the couple later visits a doctor who removes a contraceptive capsule from Allison, opening up new possibilities for her to become a mother. This marks their last attempt, and the countdown begins. Despite Allison diligently following the advice of those around her, the cup apple has yet to yield any desired results. Amidst their journey, Allison faces a reprimand from her boss for publishing an article online without his consultation, discussing deleted files from old drives. The article is swiftly taken down, emphasizing the gravity of the violation, as restoring antiquities is strictly forbidden by law enforcement. Confused by the contradiction between the sanctity of history emphasized by the mayor and the suppression of rebels with relics, Allison confides in her husband, unable to comprehend the restrictions on sharing information about the past. Holston, however, urges compliance with the law, recognizing the potential consequences if a few violators attempt to breach the shelter's confines and open the hatch to the outside world. Despite her husband's perspective, Allison holds her own reservations, consumed by the passage of time and the pressing desire to conceive. As Freedom Day approaches, and celebrations ensue following the aftermath of the last rebellion, the mayor of the bunker grows concerned about the increasingly obscured external lens. On one hand, this suggests the absence of criminals among the residents who would be tasked with cleaning it. On the other hand, it raises questions about people's ability to catch a glimpse of the outside world. Intrigued by Gloria's invitation, Ellison cautiously follows her into a secluded room. With great care, Gloria raises questions about the broken servers and burned books, wondering if the rebels were truly responsible and why. Shockingly, she proclaims that Allison will never be granted the opportunity to have children, her fate predetermined. Ellison shares this unsettling conversation with her husband, who advises her not to place trust in the ramblings of a deranged old woman. On Freedom Day, Ellison finds herself assigned to work in a small workshop as her husband remains on duty. Undeterred, she embraces her role, ready to devote her time to the task at hand. Navigating the festive galleries, abuzz with lively performances and joyous revelry, she is warmly welcomed by George, the programmer. George had eagerly anticipated consulting with Ellison, having read her post about deleted files. He presents her with a forbidden relic, an old hard drive he managed to bring to life. Unfortunately, reading the files proves challenging for Allison, and she dives into her work. Meanwhile, the mayor delivers a congratulatory speech, extolling the virtues of the shelter's laws that, 140 years ago, protected their freedom by forbidding the rebels from opening the doors to the outside world. In their quest to preserve civilization, the founding heroes erased all remnants of the past. As Allison finally manages to access the content on the disk, fear grips her, and she abruptly leaves, beseeching George to destroy the relic. Amidst the jubilant celebrations on the galleries, commemorating their hard-fought victory, George examines the expansive shelter's plan and stumbles upon an unknown tunnel at its deepest depths. Meanwhile, Ellison joins her fellow citizens, participating in the time-honored tradition of launching flying lanterns to honor their ancestors. Yet, her mind remains fixated on the newfound revelation, rendering her distracted and preoccupied. Observing her state, her husband senses something amiss, but Ellison attributes her behavior to fatigue. The following day, Ellison requests a leave of absence from work, ostensibly desiring a leisurely stroll. However, she covertly rendezvous with George, beseeching him to show her everything. Opening one of the files, they are both astounded by the breathtaking sights revealed, a glimpse of the world beyond. Returning home, Allison receives a message from the doctor, signaling their scheduled appointment for the next day. She implores her husband to wait for her at the clinic, yet unbeknownst to her, Holston's wait proves futile in the empty waiting room. Allison fails to appear, leaving her husband in a state of worry as he frantically searches for her at work, only to find her absence there as well. Eventually, he rushes home to find Allison sitting at the table, urging him to engage in a conversation of great importance. She reveals a disturbing truth: they will never be allowed to have children. According to Allison, the elite require obedient and submissive citizens. Although Holston, a man of law, understands the gravity of her words, he realizes they need evidence to support their claims. To Holston's shock, Allison unveils the evidence, a contraceptive capsule she removed herself. The doctor had deceived them all along. Witnessing blood, Holston rushes to seek medical aid. However, upon their return, Allison is nowhere to be found in the room. Their search leads them to the dining area, where Allison boldly accuses the government of concealing the truth about the real state of affairs outside. She dares to utter forbidden words, expressing her desire to leave the bunker. By law, her actions necessitate her expulsion, and Holston, torn by duty, must arrest his own wife. The mayor desperately attempts to find a way to circumvent the law, but the evidence and the multitude of witnesses leave no room for escape. Law enforcement officers conduct thorough searches of Gloria's home and George's workshop, finding nothing incriminating. The bewildered inhabitants fail to comprehend what could have prompted Allison's radical thinking. Nonetheless, tradition prevails as preparations are made for Allison to don a spacesuit. Incarcerated within her cell, Holston remains resolute, while Allison attempts to convince him that her sanity remains intact and she knows exactly what she is doing. She insists that the picture has been manipulated, and her words are not born out of madness. Allison reminds Holston that the authorities possess the means to determine the truth about the outside world. If everything truly is lifeless out there, she refuses to clean the lens of the external camera. However, if the world remains alive, she will wipe the glass as a signal for him. Allison plans to ascend the hill, uncover the truth, and return to him. The moment of exile arrives, and Allison is suited up in the spacesuit. A special cloth for cleaning the lens is placed in her pocket. Holston reads the customary farewell words and tearfully listens to his wife's final declaration of love. The helmet is secured on Allison's head, and she ventures outside. Hundreds of people watch Allison's every move on the monitors. She appears before the screen, cleans the lens, and then smiles at her astonished husband. Slowly, she walks towards the dry tree on the hill. However, before reaching it, she collapses and remains motionless. 2 years pass, and one day the assistant informs the sheriff about George's death. After Allison's exile, George was transferred to the lower level to work with the mechanics. The woman who worked with George rejects the notion of an extreme act of despair. As an engineer, she firmly believes that George was murdered. The sheriff examines the deceased's body and confronts the doctor, the only witness. The doctor, now behind bars and awaiting exile, admits that it was after meeting Juliet that he truly learned to listen, something Allison could never achieve with him. He declares his readiness to embark on a journey to find his wife. The astonished assistant points to a figure outside the window, but Holston is certain it is not Allison. The day of exile arrives, and Holston apologizes for the disturbance, bidding farewell to the assistant. He proceeds towards the bunker door, walking along the lengthy corridor. As people gather in the dining room to witness the sheriff's final hours, he gazes at the world around him. Holston realizes that Allison was right: all around him, the greenery thrives, birds sing, and the sun shines. He begins wiping the lens, prompting the audience to rejoice. The ritual is complete. However, Holston approaches his wife's lifeless body, feeling unwell. To the audience's surprise, he removes his helmet and crawls towards the tree, but ultimately collapses beside it. Juliet, filled with fury, accuses him of deceit. The sheriff's death incites the people, igniting riots. Law enforcement officers step in to calm the population, while Juliet descends and screams, releasing her anger. Meanwhile, the sheriff's assistant reads his final order, appointing Juliet as his successor. The man proceeds to the mayor's location, while Juliet immerses herself completely in her work on the lower level. The assistant discovers the mayor knitting items for a newborn, lamenting the scarcity compared to the past. Distressed, the mayor expresses concern about having sent the sheriff for cleaning, an unprecedented event in the bunker's history. Finding a suitable replacement for him proves challenging. The assistant refuses the position, as all along, she had been inspecting the mayor's locks and realized her lack of knowledge about the cause of the rebellion. The mayor worries about the emotional state of the population, and with good reason, as people are stockpiling tools and conflicts are increasingly erupting on the streets. Law enforcement officers work diligently to contain the unrest. One day, Juliet visits her friend, a repairwoman, and immediately senses her anger and excitement. She encourages her to share the troubles she faces. After some hesitation, Juliet reveals that her concerns revolve around George. She firmly believes he was murdered because he possessed something significant. During their last encounter, George wanted to keep their relationship hidden, leading him to skip the repairwoman's party. However, he did visit briefly to arrange a meeting with Juliet later in the evening. Juliet returned home late, but George was nowhere to be found in his room. However, there was a bag containing an enigmatic rarity and a note instructing Juliet to recall where she had seen the trinket earlier that morning. Perplexed, she entered the dining room, noticing sympathetic glances from others, but unaware of what had transpired. It wasn't until breakfast that she learned about the untimely death of her beloved, George. After recovering from the initial shock, she reports the programmer's murder to the lawman, who takes her to the sheriff. Together, they investigate the scene, and Juliet insists once again that George could not have taken his own life. The events occurred late at night, with only couriers as possible witnesses. Holston notices her watch, but Juliet assures him it holds no significance. As they examine George's body, the girl finds no signs of unusual injuries. Later, over lunch, the sheriff requests that she recount everything, promising not to disclose any forbidden secrets to his superiors. Juliet leads him to her room, revealing the toy left behind by George. She hands over the note, providing a condensed version of its contents. Then, she takes him to the lowest tiers, an uncharted territory previously unknown to the sheriff. Opening a concealed passage adorned with ancient writings and drawings, remnants of those who lived there before the rebellion, they proceed. Descending a metal staircase, they enter a vast cave beneath the bunker. Juliet illuminates the surroundings, leaving Holston in awe as he beholds an enormous machine at the heart of the cavern. Evidently, this is an underground contraption crafted by unknown ancestors, instrumental in creating this refuge. Any valuable artifacts were long since removed. For the first time, Juliet comprehends the vast knowledge gap regarding the shelter and its enigmatic creators. The couple makes their way onto the machine where George had fashioned a living space for himself, storing the relics he had discovered. He had kept their relationship hidden, shielding Juliet from suspicion in case of his arrest. Juliet proudly displays George's treasures to Holston. Suddenly, she notices a wire coiled on a reel, leading off the platform. Juliet pulls on it and discovers a bag at the end, containing a hard drive. Nearby, she finds notes in Allison's handwriting, which the sheriff immediately recognizes. It turns out his wife had known everything transpiring, yet never divulged the information to him. Holston insists on sending the rarities to the furnace before anyone becomes aware of their existence. However, Juliet strongly opposes this decision and inadvertently echoes Allison's words about the sheriff's failure to listen to people, which serves as a sobering moment for Holston. Holston admits that he can see her body beneath the tree from the dining room window. He advises Juliet to remain hidden while he seeks the truth. Her friend shakes her head, revealing that she didn't show everything to Holston. There is a continuation in George's note, stating that he discovered something immensely more dangerous than anything before. Juliet departs, vowing to stay alive. The sheriff's deputy confesses to the mayor that Holston left behind a successor. However, he is perplexed by this chosen candidate and refrains from discussing her further. The mayor plans to meet with the woman. Meanwhile, Juliet recalls a conversation with George, in which he jokingly mentioned bundles of ropes on the combine that could allow him to travel back in time. He had discovered an old blueprint indicating an underwater tunnel, intending to swim through it while holding onto a rope. Driven by curiosity, Juliet ventures into the cave. Lowering herself on the rope, she descends to the water's surface at the base of the machine. The concept of humanity surviving in a closed bunker is not new, yet an overwhelming sense of anticipation lingers for something entirely unexpected and extraordinary.